Violence is the leading cause of death for teens and young adults 15 through 24 years old and has become a national epidemic. Recently, I was asked the question, why is violence, which is a major public health issue, a problem, and what can we do to solve it? Now, in order to answer this question, I must first understand what violence is and what public health is. If you were to ask an average teenager what violence is, the first thing that would come to mind would be gang-related conflicts. They would think of things like shootings, stabbings, people getting jumped, and other similar activities. The actual dictionary.com definition of violence is rough or injurious physical force, action, or treatment. That means that violence is not only physical, but can also scar people mentally and emotionally. I also had to understand public health. Public health is the well-being of a community. So if violence is a major public health problem, that means that violence has a negative impact on the well-being of a community. But why? Why is violence such a big issue? We only tend to think about things like heart disease, cancer, and STDs when we think about health disparities. But violence is also a major killer. It influences a tremendous amount of families and people of all ages in our community. It especially impacts the younger generation. Those are my peers who are committing these violent crimes. I have to worry about it in school, at parties, and even just leaving football games. It impacts my mental health when I feel the need to duck down every time a car drives by me. According to the Black Star Project, this year, there were 39 students murdered in Chicago, 53 in Los Angeles, 18 in Baltimore, and 17 homicides right here in our city, Springfield, Massachusetts. We live in a state that, reported by the Morgan Quitno Press, ranks number 30 on the most dangerous states list. Women shouldn't feel the need to clench their purses when they see a group of young Black and Latino young men. There shouldn't have to be a youth escort policy in the mall because we don't know how to properly conduct ourselves in public. But why? Why does our generation seem to think that violence is okay? Maybe we were raised that way. Parents, when you buy your young boys toys like Nerf guns and toy swords and toy hammers, they seem to think that violence is okay. When you allow your son to watch wrestling and cartoons like those involving fighting and killing, it becomes the norm. Is allowing your kids to play video games like Gears of War and Grand Theft Auto and Halo the best way to spend their time? When you buy your kids video games with the name bully, that is not helping the situation. When activities like this are allowed, it may have a negative effect later on, according to child psychology and social science research. Things like this can desensitize children to violence. Therefore, they may act out the real thing as they grow older. When there are absent fathers in the home, children rely on media and TV to fill that void. They seek and learn behavior from television shows and movies. So when they turn on the TV and the radio and they hear rappers like Lil Wayne talking about how he's always strapped, it's acceptable to them. Not only that, but maybe they see violence acted out in the home. As reported by the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, boys who witness domestic violence are twice as likely to abuse their own partners or children as they grow older. What have we come to when NFL superstar Plaxico Burress felt it was necessary to enter a club with a loaded gun in his sweatpants? The gun eventually went off, shot him in his leg. Now his life has taken a complete turnaround. Now we have 1.1 million Black men in prisons and jails in the U.S., which is more than the amount of incarcerated Black men in the rest of the world combined. How is it that minorities make up 2/3 of juveniles in public facilities, but we only make up 1/3 of the youth population as a whole? How is it that, according to the Black Star Project, we lose approximately 6,000 young Black and Latino males annually to death? If this continues, we are risking a lot. Who will the young Black and Latino women marry? Who will build the economies of Black and Latino communities? But more importantly, who will young Black and Latino boys look up to as role models? We cannot get a hold on this violence until we get a hold of the people that are doing it. So if youth violence is the issue here, we will first need to get a hold of the youth. We can start right at home. We can build strong, functioning families. Good parenting and strong families are the best defense for preventing youth violence. If we like coming home, then the less likely we are to turn to the streets for comfort and support. Provide positive mentors and role models for us. We will become what we see. We especially need things like this in areas with high poverty. As stated by Harvard sociologist William Julius Wilson, areas where men have no jobs, fathers are absent, and social institutions are in disarray are where homicide rates soar the most. Let's create more after-school activities and recreational programs to keep us off the streets. According to the Pellegrino law firm in Boston, the peak hours for youth violence are between 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Give us something positive to do during those critical hours. All we need is a little love and support from our parents, teachers, and other elders. So instead of clenching your wallet or your purse when you see us, remind us of our potential. Tell us that there is more to achieve in life, and we can be more than just another statistic, and we can beat the system. It also wouldn't hurt for us young people to motivate and uplift each other and hold one another accountable. We can't rely on adults to do it all. Be honest, we will probably listen to our peers more than we would listen to adults in most cases. Don't let you or your friends fall into the hype. It saddens me to hear about our own tragedies here in Springfield, like 17-year-old Brittany Perez, who was totally innocent and was killed over a television, or 19-year-old Mario Hornsby Jr., who was at the wrong place at the wrong time, or 12-year-old Carl Walker, who was bullied and teased in school and committed suicide. This is all senseless, and we cannot continue to let this happen. We're killing educators, preachers, doctors, businessmen, entertainers, and many more. We do not want these homicides to turn into a genocide. In the words of the great Frederick Douglass, with violence on the rise, we must find common ground and respect one another, or indeed, we may die together. Thank you.